Hi, in this video we want to talk about random forest classification in Python programming language, so please stay tuned. The general idea of random forest classification is to use the majority vote of a forest of trees. For example, suppose that we want to determine whether a person buys a product or not. And in order to determine the class of that person, whether he buys or not, we are going to use 100 trees. Decision tree, let's say 1, decision tree 2, all the way up to decision tree 100. And then we are going to pass the features, the characteristics of this person to each decision tree, and each decision tree is going to predict whether this person buys or doesn't buy. And then we are going to consider the majority vote of these 100 trees. The majority vote of a forest of trees. And we are going to count on that majority vote. So this is the general idea. This is the general concept of random forest classification. So this is random forest classification algorithm in brief. The first step is to choose number of estimators, number of trees. How many trees do you want to use? For example, if you want to use 100 trees, the number of estimators is equal to 100. Then you should randomly choose k data from train data with replacement. And this k is generally the same as the train data length, the number of train data. Step 3 is to build a tree for the data chosen in step 2. And then you should repeat step 2 and 3 for that number of estimators. For example, if you have decided to consider 100 trees, then you are going to repeat step 2 and 3 for 100 times because you have chosen 100 trees. You have chosen number of estimators equal to 100. And then finally, in order to predict a data, you should predict the new data using the majority vote of all that trees. For example, for a new customer, you are going to give the features, the characteristics of this customer to all that 100 trees, and they are going to predict whether this person buys or doesn't buy. And then you are going to consider the majority vote of those trees, and you're going to decide whether this person buys or doesn't buy. So now let's do random forest classification in Python programming language. The only thing that we need to change is this part. And remember that we have talked about the other parts of the code in the previous videos. So we should change just this part. So we simply type from Sklearn.ensemble, and ensemble means a group of algorithms. Here it means a group of algorithms. We want to import random forest classifier. Then we simply type random forest classifier, and we want to build an object. We want to create an object, let's say called model, and then we simply type model.fit, and we want to fit our model on X train and Y train. And also we can pass number of estimators, for example, equal to 100. And for example, let's provide random state equal to 0. So now if I run the code, you can see here's the confusion matrix, here's the normalized confusion matrix, and this is our F1 score. But now let's provide another argument called maximum depth, which we have talked in the previous video, the decision tree, and let's provide 1,000, for example. And if I run the code, you can see the F1 is 87%. But if we provide, for example, maximum depth equal to, let's say 3, and if I run the code again, you can see F1 is now 90%, which is higher. And here is your question. Why are the trees with only 3 depth are performing better than trees with 1,000 depth? And here is a question that we are going to answer in the next tutorial.